Everybody, and welcome to another episode of the SHAIR Podcast. My name is Omar Pinto, your host, and today we have Tiffany Jenkins joining us on the show. And Tiffany is absolutely amazing. She gets very real, she gets very vulnerable, and as usual, she gets really funny. I absolutely love this interview. We had so much fun. It was such an honor for her to join me on my show. And it's one of the episodes where I got one of the greatest amounts of feedback from my listeners. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode. But before we dive into today's episode with Tiffany Jenkins from Juggling the Jenkins, which I didn't mention earlier, if you enjoy watching the SHAIR Podcast interviews, then be sure to click subscribe to the SHAIR Podcast YouTube channel. Make sure to go to our website, theshairpodcast.com. The link is also below, which includes the SRC, the SHAIR Recovery Community membership community. And you can also check out omarpinto.com, where you can learn more about one-on-one coaching with me. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode with Tiffany Jenkins. Welcome back to the SHAIR Podcast. I'm your host, Omar Pinto. And if you want to overcome unhealthy habits, have more energy, and feel better now, then this is the perfect podcast for you. And on today's episode, our guest is Tiffany Jenkins. Welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I am super excited to have you on the show. We were just talking right before the episode that I've had a few of my listeners to the SHAIR Podcast have reached out to me and said, please, can you get Tiffany Jenkins on the show? Which is, on social media is Juggling the Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw some of her videos and they're hysterical.
Oh,
they're absolutely hysterical. Yeah. And I can see why people connect to you. There's a lot of rawness in there too. I can tell that in the funniness is a lot of like real life shit.
Yes. The humor's a defense mechanism, a coping mechanism to hide that real rawness.
There you go. And that was another thing too. There was almost like this, as we started, it was like, I don't even know how I got here. And I said, you know what, let's press record because we're ready.
Yeah.
Because this is what we need. So just a quick intro, guys. Today we have Tiffany Jenkins joining us on the show. Tiffany is the funny lady behind I keep saying jungling. Does anybody else do that?
No, but it's sassy. Juggling the Jenkins.
Juggling the Jenkins. No, let's just Juggling the Jenkins. She has over 4.2 million Facebook followers and counting. Tiffany is a wife, mother, best-selling author, content creator, and recovering addict. Although best known for her funny viral Facebook and YouTube videos, Tiffany is incredibly passionate about bringing awareness to mental illness. She speaks shamelessly, openly, and honestly about her past addictions, as well as her struggles with depression and anxiety. Tiffany shares her story of hope in jails, rehabs, and high schools. Has traveled across the country, headlining her own tour. Sound about right, Tiffany?
It does. It sounds very braggadocious. Can you tell I wrote it myself and Googled how to sound fancy on your bio? Because that's exactly what I did.
Did you really?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing.
How to sound fancy?
I'm realizing how long-winded it is now, though, and maybe I should trim it down.
Well, it only sounds long-winded because I'm reading it.
Right, maybe.
Okay, but if somebody's on the show and it says, hi, I've got a Facebook page with a lot of people,
right,
you probably need a little bit more.
Right. Okay, that makes me feel better.
Well, and it's funny because, and I had said that too, where it was like, I saw a lot of times when you have that big of a following, you also have a lot of attention. So you get there's a lot of fan mail, there's a lot of private messages, there's a lot of attention. It can get daunting and overwhelming. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to reach out to her. She's got like 4.2 million faces. She's got enough people bothering her.
Aw, that's okay. I'm glad you did. I don't want anyone to ever feel like that. And I'm so glad that even though I do on my lives and stuff say like the emails are overwhelming sometimes, I'm glad people still write because it's so important. And oftentimes when the people write out these long, heartfelt emails, reaching out for help, it's therapeutic for them as well to get it all out of their head and down into the email. But I've had to learn to like protect myself because I want to save everybody and fix everybody, and I know I can't. So
What do you do to protect yourself and set those boundaries?
I think I just try to like never stop learning. So like, for example, in the beginning, I was super stressed and I'm like, I get all these emails and all these people think I can save them. And they're, hitting me with all this heavy stuff. I want to end my life. I hate who I am. My marriage is falling apart. And at first I would go through the emails and I would try to give each email the attention that it deserved and try to fix the person, but it was killing me. And so I started Googling like how to protect yourself, how to put up a barrier, how to not absorb other people's feelings and internalize them. And just, I would research. So now I put up this imaginary shield sometimes when I'm in around a lot of people, or I pace myself with the emails and I remind myself that there's only so much I can do, and just staying in tune with how I'm feeling and where I'm at has been incredibly helpful.
I can't I can't imagine. That seems very overwhelming. A lot of pressure, that kind of feeling of overwhelm, especially if someone has one of those heavy, I want to end my life kind of deals,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And so I think it's super important to recognize, or even while we're having this conversation, that I recognize that when I reach out to you as well. I mean, and for me, it's like, hey, I want you to, be on my podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not, fix my life, which is just, hey, show up.
Yeah.
But even still, this takes energy. And on top of that, what's that energy got to be coming at you? So, like for our listeners, a little grace, a little love, a little understanding, knowing that the content that you put out there is got to be daunting enough. Because how many videos are you doing a week?
Not many. One maybe.
Okay.
I try to do one new like scripted video, either humor or a real subject, once per week. And then I go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if I have like a random thought or something throughout the week, I'll post it. But so that's on Facebook. I also have an Instagram and a TikTok and a YouTube, and I have a supporter page where I go live twice, and a Patreon page where I go live 4 times a month. And so like one video, but as far as lives, I forget the math, but there's quite a few lives during the week. But yeah, just grace, if anything, only because it makes me feel so guilty when I'm in the middle of a live and someone's like, I've emailed you twice. I guess I'm not important to get an email back. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you, I am one person and I have kids and a husband. Cut me some slack, Cheryl, please.
God, and I love this. I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation right now, because this was not the intention of the interview, but
I know I'm starting off complaining and whining about
it's not, because here's the thing. What I want to dive into too is, your awareness to mental illness and, your struggles with depression and anxiety. And it's like, wow, this is all part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. This is all, how do I manage depression? How do I manage anxiety? What aspects of mental illness am I dealing with or suffering with? And more importantly, what happens when and if you look at your Facebook lives, typically how many people do you have watching?
Yeah. It depends on, the platform, but Facebook, it's anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000. It just depends.
Okay. So you do the math on that, and to think that, if 10% of those people were sending you an email, I'm buried.
Yeah.
I'm buried. Yeah. So yeah, it is. But here's the thing. We all want to be understood. I have, to this day, I've still been able to answer every single email that's been sent to me where somebody had said, hey, thank you so much for what you've done. And trust me, I don't have 4.2 million people following me on Facebook.
Still, though, that's huge. That's really cool that you're able to respond to everybody.
I have been, but like I said, it's not daily, right? If I got it daily, it would probably have to be something. I would probably have to deal with it a little bit differently. Like I have to set some kind of boundaries. Like I've sent emails to people that I wanted on my show, like Rich Roll, and there's other people that are like have big podcasts. I get an auto response.
Yeah. I've thought about it.
I get an auto. I said, listen, the volume is on emails is way too high. We will do our best to get back to it. And that's really a polite way of saying, yeah, this is not happening.
Yeah, and in the past too, like I have, and I've been like, hey, help a sister out and give me some time. But in the meantime, if you're struggling, here's some links. And I've put links to like YouTube videos that help me, or like channels that help me answering questions that they're probably going to ask. But it felt so impersonal. And like, I don't have a team. It's just me. My husband tries to help, but you know what I mean? It's not, I don't have a team. So, part of me is like, well, I should just hire people to respond to these emails. But then it's like, I'm getting 50 emails a day from people who are broken. There's no way I'm going to have a different person respond pretending to be me. These people are divulging all their secrets and stuff. So I'm just doing what I can when I can, in order to not lose my mind.
Okay. So let me clarify. I've never gotten 50 emails in a month. So, when I say I've responded to all of them, it ain't a big deal.
Well,
okay.
Give yourself some credit.
I have, in the sense that because I've been able to, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like I get it and then it's like, oh, I got to respond. Okay. Right. It goes in the queue.
Right.
And when I have a moment, then it's like, okay, I'm going to go, let me take a look. I know there's an email that somebody sent to me and I'm going to respond to it with some time. But there's never this sense of urgency. So really, let's really kind of start there. I'd love to know more about, when you say I'm incredibly passionate about bringing awareness to mental illness, where does that stem from?
It stems from, I guess, spending my whole life feeling out of place. And I had no clue that there was a name for what was going on inside of my brain. And once I discovered it, it was like life-changing. And it was really just a few years ago. I've been doing what I'm doing for about 2.5, 3 years. And prior to that, I just thought I was crazy. Like from the time I was a little kid, if anybody left the house without saying they loved me, I would freak out because I just pictured my mom getting into a terrible car accident and dying and me never seeing her again. And I would have nightmares about it. And while most kids were playing on the playground, I was like sitting on the sidelines, like, I don't want to break my arm. If I break my arm, we're going to have to go to the hospital and we don't have money for an ambulance. And just like these really weird thoughts. And they carried on through adulthood and through my addiction. And once I realized that I wasn't alone, I decided to start sharing that with people, because everywhere I looked on social media, everybody looked like they had their shit together, their crap together. And I was comparing myself to that, and I felt like I was failing. So I just put a little bit of truth out there at a time. And I was amazed at the overwhelming amount of incredible, kind, loving, and supportive feedback that I got. And it inspired me. I'm like, for the first time in my life, I kind of know who I am, and people are accepting the real me, and I feel free.
So
are you taking notes? Am I in trouble? Is this a therapy session? What's going on?
There might be some coaching. Okay. So.
Oh, really? I got excited. I need all the help I can get.
Sometimes it's just occupational hazard. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, boom, I'm like, oh, this sounds like could be.
No, that's good that you take notes. I should do more of that.
Plus I hate labels, and I was going to ask you, what is your label? But I have undiagnosed ADHD.
Oh my gosh. I swear, I've recently been thinking that so much about myself. And my husband's like, Tiffany, you always think that you have something. You just Google the symptoms and you're like, I have that, which is true. But when I was just saying to you, I should take notes, because I'm all over the place, and notes might really help me.
Also, it helps me concentrate.
Yeah.
Because of all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's this kind of like kinesthetic activity that I'm doing, and it allows me to focus more on what you're saying.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Try it. Try it. You could even be doodling. Like, yeah, you don't even
I
have to
love
be, like, I'm not even taking notes right now. I'm just drawing a snowman. And it looks like I'm like,
I'm glad I didn't see it because I'd be like, are you even listening or are you just drawing Olaf for Frozen right now? Like, am I boring you, Omar? That's so funny.
No, but I was curious because I want to know, I'm comparing myself to others. So I have maybe imposter syndrome, but there's this kind of, I had to have come up with some sort of, no, I don't have to do anything, but I might have come up with a label or been diagnosed in some way. Were you given some sort of mental illness label?
Yeah, I was diagnosed officially with generalized anxiety disorder, depression, mild schizophrenia, and a doctor in rehab in 2009 diagnosed me with bipolar disorder, but I've never pursued it. It's never been like, I've never taken medication for it or anything. The only thing that I've like actively been working on is the anxiety and depression because it's crippling sometimes. However, I've recently had a revelation / realization about my mental health.
Please tell us.
I think so I have always thought that codependency meant you were like stuck up your partner's butt and just like obsessed with them.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that I was not even close. It was not even the tip of the iceberg. So I went to, during my last therapy session, I got a new therapist and I wanted to talk to, my goal was to help with the anxiety. And he gave me a worksheet about codependency and I was annoyed at first. And I'm like, this is not a problem for me. Why am I doing this? And as I went through the checklist, I was like, wait a minute. And all of the friggin' indicators, I was like, I could have written this. And then I realized, like, if I could fix these things, if you're telling me that there's a name for this and I could work on this, it would change my quality of life unbelievably. Like, I had no idea how codependent I was.
And so, in a nutshell,
yes,
how would you define it today?
My codependency?
Mm-hmm.
I still have the worksheet. I took notes, but there's different patterns, right? That and I'm not going to like read them off to you, but there's control patterns, compliance patterns, avoidance patterns, denial patterns, and low self-esteem patterns. And I check off almost every marker except for the control. So low self-esteem, for example, okay, without looking at a worksheet, I'm a people pleaser.
Okay.
I would literally rather everyone else around me be comfortable while I was burning alive on fire. I assume that people are thinking negatively about me when I walk into a room. Like, I'm not just reading off of something. Like in school, I would go up to throw a piece of paper away and I'm like, everybody's making fun of my back fat and making fun of my knees clicking together. And if my husband says like good morning to me, but it's like a curt like morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's mad at me. What did I do? He's falling out of love with me. I wonder if he's seeing somebody else. Like, my brain's so weird. And I always thought that I was just a overthinker and a worrier, but I found out that this is part of being codependent. Like, I'm relying on other people to validate my feelings. I suck at making choices. I feel like everybody else knows what's right and I know what's wrong. And one more huge thing for me was like my comments under my videos. If there's a million positive comments, but one person says, this girl isn't funny and she doesn't make sense, that's the comment that I zone in on and believe. It's like, I've got everybody else fooled, but this person sees the real me. And I hate it. It's ruining my life. And so I bought the Codependence Anonymous book and it just arrived today. And I'm so excited.
Wow. That is
a mouthful. I'm sorry.
No, it's so great because here's man, that's all of us, right? And not all of us, but there's so many of us that struggle with this idea that a part of codependency is also feeling that you are responsible for someone else's emotional state.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And vice versa, okay, then that's one way, that someone else's emotion, I'm responsible for someone else's emotional state. But then that I am actually is, if I look at this backwards, how they're looking at it. In other words, it's your responsibility to make me feel good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Constantly.
So there's one side, which is where the codependency really feeds on itself.
But I also need them to
Right.
make me feel good by
Okay.
feeling good. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I'm totally like that. I don't know why, but I'm about to, because I'm going to learn, because I've got 7 years clean, and like, I know that I don't have it all figured out. I know that I have so much learning left to do. And I'm so bummed that I'm just now finding out about codependency, because, I have all these emotions and feelings, and it shapes who I am. It makes me who I am, but it also makes me miserable, and I'm not happy. So I want to change it, but I don't know how. So I'm going to research it, and I'm not going to stop until there's some progress, hopefully.
Yeah, no. And what I was trying to explain was really my relationship with my mother. So,
okay.
because I'd go to her house, and every minute that went by, it was almost like I had an old cell phone, like an old iPhone, where the battery was going bad. And as soon as you unplugged it from the charger, it would just immediately start going down. Okay. And as soon as I walk into mom's house, like every minute that goes by, I feel like my energy is getting sucked, just zapped out of me. And it looks like she's just more energized. And I'd be like, what is the deal with that?
Wow.
And so it's more of like understanding that when I walk in the room, I feel like I'm under a spotlight, and it's my responsibility to make her feel better or happy or entertain her.
Yeah.
And when I walk in and she sees me, her mindset is, oh, here's my son. He's here to make me feel better. He's responsible for making me happy and entertaining me. And so it's still codependent.
Right.
But one is sucking the energy while the other one is, losing the energy. And so when I'm not around her, I'm energized. Like I'm golden.
Yeah. Interesting.
Here's the thing. When I'm not around, though, that's when she starts to.
So she feeds off of
other people's energy.
Yeah.
Energy vampire.
How do you do at parties?
When parties are interesting.
Get-togethers, social gatherings.
I move around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm constantly trying to find the right person.
Yeah.
That I can connect with, where the energy is symbiotic.
Yeah.
Versus if I'm going to a party and I feel like my energy is getting sucked, I got trapped by somebody.
Yes.
Okay. Ugh. And it's typically those people that are the most. I am super gregarious, and I just have this aura that says, I'll talk to anybody, right? Yeah. I make everybody feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually it's the wallflowers that typically don't talk to too many people. And eventually, and if I go up to them, hey, how you doing? Because I see you're here by yourself. And next thing you know, I'm there 15 minutes.
You feel like it's your job.
Right. I feel like it's my job to make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, finally, somebody's here to take care of me.
Yeah.
And I feel it just, I start going down, and I see them kind of coming to life.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate so much to that. And while you're talking, I had this revelation. It's like I have like a very bright light, but it burns out very quickly. Whereas other people have a very long fuse. Mine's very bright, and then it's gone. And then I have to go home and not talk to anybody for months to decompress.
Okay. So we are basically, we're on that side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And so, and I remember, I remember there was one of my masseuses where she had told me, I think she said, you're a taker. Right. And I was like, what are you talking about? Anytime there's a service commitment, I'm the one who gets asked. Yeah. I'm the one who's stepping up. She goes, no. You're misunderstanding me. You suck in energy.
Empathetic. Have you heard that?
Yeah. Oh, I'm empathic. Yeah.
Everybody says that to me, that I'm an empath, and that's why.
There it is. That's the word.
Yeah.
We're both empaths. And so we have to be very, very, very cautious. So yeah, when I'm at a party, like I am constantly like moving. And so it's like, I know where the bathrooms are at. I know where, you know, like it's like, and I'm always quick, like, oh, got to go to the restroom. I'll catch up with you later. You know, oh, I'm going to get a drink. You know, I'll catch up with you in a bit. Or, you know, the phone's ringing. Oh, can you give me a sec? Right? And
You're good at cutting off conversations. I'm so bad at
I had to learn.
I need to learn. I'm so bad.
And I'd rather kind of like you, probably, and I'm here I'm mind reading, and I might be wrong, but the thing about being on the spotlight, the reason I like being on a podcast or being on a video or being in the spotlight is I can express myself and I can have this kind of a conversation and not worry about getting sucked in.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can go out and do what I feel like this is my purpose. My purpose is to do the podcast, to interview people, to help thousands of people like all over the world, which I do with the podcast and you do with Facebook and all your other platforms, but you do it from over here.
Right. Right.
Where if I'm in a party, oh, forget it. It's, you know, Michael Jordan's here. And, you know, all of a sudden you're swarmed. And it's really more about that energy. People recognize that energy and they're just kind of like,
yeah. And I don't want to make it sound like, I just want to make sure that if anybody's listening, and I don't want anybody to hesitate reaching out to me, or if they see me hesitate to come up to talk to me because of things that I've said. Like my supporters are everything, and I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for them. So I always want you to do that. I guess like my live shows, for example, when I was touring, we would do meet and greets beforehand. There would be 150 people. During that, I was feeding off of their excitement, and it's like it didn't feel draining at all because I was just there and I was in the moment, and it was quick. They came, they met me, we hugged, took pictures. I got to tell them how much I love them. They got to tell me how much they love me. But then once everybody was gone, it was like, I need to be still for a while. And then I would do my live show, 2-hour show on stage. But it's just me. I'm projecting outward. You know, I'm not absorbing anything other than laughter, which is helping me feed me. But then when the show's over, I'm dead. I'm empty. I'm out of batteries. But it's, you know, the supporters, they mean everything to me. And so I'm so grateful for them. But yeah, I have to be and it's so cool to know that about myself now. Because for so long, I had no idea who I was and why I felt the way it was like I was a ping pong ball just bopping up. What's pinball? Just like all over my life, getting tossed in different directions and having no idea why I felt the way I did or ended up where I did. And it's very cool to learn about myself and be able to grow.
This is great. And look, we all know I love my listeners and you love your fans, and we know this, you know, that's why we do it. We do it because we know we make a difference, right? Yeah. If we didn't make a difference, we wouldn't be doing this. So we know we make a difference, and we put everything into it.
Right.
There's everything we got, and there's always more. There's always more, especially. So it's more of like, understand that we love you and understand that we're only one person, right? That's it. That's really the most important thing. It's like, it's not that I'm not trying to answer your email. It's that I can't. Like that. Yeah. That's really the most important message. It's not that I don't want to. It's that I can't. There's no physical way that I can raise my children, have a relationship with my husband, do the videos, run, do my content, run my business, do what I do, and answer 50 emails a day. It's just not.
And keep my sanity and my sobriety it's physically impossible.
And it's tough for us because we always feel like we've got to be on point and they're counting on us. But guess what? We're counting on you. I'm counting on you, right? I'm counting on you to understand that where we're coming from and that what we do, right? We love it. And I think I've lost. See, here's this. It's so uncomfortable to say it because I never think I've ever had this conversation. Like, understand understand us kind of thing.
Yeah, I get it.
Fucking weird, man. Like, I don't even know what to say right now.
Yeah.
I just got stuck, and let's move on. But
Story of my life.
more story of my life, and I think. So it seems as though we're probably an empath our whole life. We were born an empath.
Mm-hmm.
And so this whole idea of this impending doom that you were feeling as a child.
Yeah. I still feel it.
So would it be fair to say that what we're feeling or what you're, I think I feel it too.
We're apparently one person now, you and
I. Right. Would it be fair to say that like we're always feeding off energy?
Yeah. I feel like I have to be hyper intuitive because my primary emotion that I live in is fear. And so with my kids, there was a point when I was in active addiction that I like prayed for death and I wanted to die. And I prayed for lightning bolts and tornadoes to take me away. But then when I got clean and I saw the beauty in life and I started having children, that changed. Like the very last thing that I want is to die right now because I love my kids so much. And the very last thing that I want is for them to hurt or feel hurt. So every moment of my day is spent trying to prevent them from hurting. And it's ruining their life and it's exhausting for me. We can't even play on the playground because I'm constantly like, be careful, watch out for this. Don't swing too hard. Don't push your brother. Be careful. That's really high up. And it's like, they're not even getting to enjoy the moment because there's all these cautions constantly. But to me, in my mind, I see what comes next. I see them taking that step off that rail and hitting the ground and potentially paralyzing themselves and, the rest of their life having to be and it's like this whole long, crazy, fake scenario, but it feels so real to me that I try to prevent it and it's exhausting.
It's super exhausting. So let's talk about the drinking and the using because I'm pretty sure that it brought you some relief in the beginning. So I'd love for you to tell us what it was like the first time you drank or used drugs, and more importantly, how you felt, how it made you feel.
Yeah, I was wearing my cheerleading uniform. It was after a Friday night game. I was offered alcohol my senior year. I had never drank, never smoked. I was a virgin. I was a good person. And for some reason on this night, I said yes. And when I took that first sip, it changed everything because what I felt was nothing. And it was such a glorious feeling to feel nothing, to feel numb, to not feel insecure or out of place or awkward or anxious. And so once I realized it was possible to float, I chased it. And I chased it so hard that I dropped out of school 3 months later. School was no longer interesting to me. I wanted to be free of the mundane and the pain. And at this point, I had no clue what anxiety or depression or anything like that was. I had no clue that I was prone to being an addict. I thought I was just escaping reality and doing what kids my age were doing. And then it escalated to the point where, my body ended up in extreme physical pain if I didn't have it. And that's when I stopped doing it for fun to escape and started doing it because I had to not feel like I was dying.
So let's expand there a little bit.
Okay.
So what was, how did addiction play a role in your life? And ultimately, what did it cost you there in the end?
It shaped me. I found that I had all these underlying issues and it was like trying to slap a Band-Aid on an amputated arm and expecting it to fix it. I had all of this extreme, I don't want to say trauma, because I've never been, and I don't know if this is too far, but like, I've never been sexually abused. I've never been physically abused or anything like that. If anything, I've had a little bit of maybe neglect as a kid. So I don't know if that counts as trauma, but I've got all these underlying issues that I haven't ever coped with or talked about. And so I self-medicated. And so for 10 years of my life, I was spiraling. I was stuck, and I didn't know how to get off of this roller coaster. It sucked. And it took, an intervention by the police to ultimately get clean for long enough to realize like it wasn't what I wanted anymore. When I was forced in jail to detox, that's when I was like, okay, I can't do it anymore. I need help. And I knew I couldn't do it myself. So I went to the rehab.
What was your drug of choice?
Pills. So it started off with, I don't know I don't need to name specific drugs, but I ultimately ended up changing the way that I administered the drugs. So I was an IV drug user.
Okay. So you went from pills to IV drug user.
Right. But pills. So I was using pills like oxys and moxies, and then Dilaudid.
So it's okay. You can.
I don't want to trigger anybody who's listening. It's like my biggest fear. I'm always so scared of it. So if you have to cut it out, that's okay. But
this is a recovery podcast, so there's the what it was like, right? Yeah. And then here's the thing: they're listening to it. What is she talking about? She's
I know.
Being cryptic. She's being cryptic. Fucking spit it out already.
Touche. Okay. Yeah. So I was shooting pills, which can be a huge trigger for people to hear that. And I don't want them to like visualize it. I don't know. Everybody's at all different walks of life, people who are listening to your podcast. And I would hate to be the reason that somebody starts thinking about something again. Well, negatively.
Again, this is all the drug use, right? Those are just coping mechanisms. That's just the soothing agent. Okay. You've recognized that you have underlying issues. That's the point. Okay. The point is you have all these underlying issues, which means the rest of us also have underlying issues. And all of a sudden I drink for the first time and I feel nothing. Mm-hmm. And actually I do feel something. I feel peace. Mm-hmm. I feel connection.
Yep.
And it's because the noise stopped.
Yeah. Yep. And when I go into high schools, I tell people like, hey, I used to think that people told me not to drink and use drugs because they're old and didn't want me to have fun. Mm-hmm. Like my stepdad was a cop. My mom ended up marrying a cop. So I grew up in a house with a police officer. There's no reason for me to turn out to be an addict. It's just in my genes. And I'm not saying it's purely my genes. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of things that played a factor. There's people who grow up in homes with parents who are drug addicts and go on to be doctors. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is like, all these parents reach out to me and they're like, what could I have done differently? And it's like, it's not you. Most of the time it's me. And so, I don't remember where I was going. I lost my train of thought too. So,
well, no, and I'm following along. What I want to know specifically is what was that rock bottom moment? So, there was this moment where you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. It was in jail in Suicide Watch. I was in a relationship with the deputy sheriff for about 2.5 years, and I hid my addiction from him, and I stole things from around our home, including but not limited to firearms. And I was arrested and charged with a lot of felonies, and like the reality of the life that I had like created combined with the pain of the withdrawal was enough to make me feel as if death was my only escape. It was the only way that I would ever feel peace, that there was no possible way that I could go through feeling this way for however the heck long it was going to take for me to figure it out. And so I tried to die, and I wanted to die, and I was found. They found me and saved me. And I was super angry about it. And they took me to Suicide Watch, and it was there that I felt like an animal for the first time. Like I wasn't a person anymore. I was in this glass cage stripped of all of my clothing and glasses and dignity. And I was like, this is the lowest. I've ever been. But the moment that I first felt a spark of hope was when my father came to visit me on Christmas and told me that he himself had gotten clean and sober and that he would always love me no matter what. And he had faith in me and that he wanted me to get clean so we could do the recovery thing together as a family. Because up until that point, I felt useless and like there was no point in living. But that guy loving me at my worst was enough to make me say like, hey, if he can love me, why can't I love me? And so.
Wow. I'm so glad I asked that question. Dude, very, very powerful message. So what was that first year of recovery like?
I went to a 6-month residential treatment program, and the treatment program itself was not really conventional whatsoever. But it was what I needed at the time. And so my father and sister and family came to visit me. And after that, I ended up going to a halfway house after my 6 months was up. And when I was in the halfway house, shortly after I moved in, I got pregnant. So things really hit the fan.
Yeah. Some quick developments.
Yeah. You would not believe it. You would not believe it. There's a whole book about it, actually.
Yeah, because I'm curious. It's like all of a sudden, it's like I'm the Virgin Mary, and boom, I'm pregnant. So who was it?
I'm not sure. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So there was this guy who lived in a halfway house down the street, man. And we got an overnight pass and I got pregnant in a halfway house and I stayed living in the halfway house, even though I was pregnant, because I knew that like I wasn't done learning how to live life while clean and sober. And so, we got married 5 months after knowing each other, still living separately in halfway houses. And then we worked really hard and saved up money and got our very first apartment. And my son was born on my birthday. And life was just incredible. And then when my son was 6 months old, I found out I was pregnant again. And then my daughter was born 16 months after my son was born. And then 2 weeks after that, my husband's daughter from a previous marriage came to live with us full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. You actually, a rehab love connection.
You listen, I don't recommend it. I'd never recommend it ever. It was actually the night of his commencement from his rehab program that I fell in love when he was given his commencement speech. I 13 stepped the crap out of him. I
don't know if you does that count as 13th step? Did you have a year yet?
No.
Yeah, I think you guys. Yeah, I think you guys were. It is. It's rehab romance.
But what I'll say is, so I got pregnant 2 months after knowing him. And, we've been married for 6 years, which is crazy to me. We got very lucky. But what I will say is we never got a chance to know each other before children. If I'm being completely honest, we never had a chance to bond together. And so all we've ever known of each other is kids and dishes and bills. And so truthfully, like there are times where, let's say the kids are at their grandma's and we're just standing there like, okay, what do we do? Like, who are we? I don't know. And that's a big fear of mine too. I'm like, there's always that. Did I do the right thing? Did this happen too quickly? What if I just jumped into this like an idiot? But that's that overthinking again. I'm happy. I'm not, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but
oh God, please. This is gold.
But yeah, that's all. So I'm very interested to see what life is going to be like when the kids grow up and move out. Cause we're just going to, hi, I'm Tiffany. Nice to meet you. I'm Drew. Nice to meet you. Should we start getting to know each other without kids now? Maybe. But so in 2 years, I went from being single in a halfway house to a married mom of 3.
Well, and 2, seeing as if you take into consideration the empath, then there's got to be enough of I don't know if the word is connection, or the right connection, or the right alignment of energy. Because if he was sucking your energy, you wouldn't be able to survive.
Right. Yeah.
Because we have you have no power. I have no power over it. When someone's sucking I walk into my mom's house, and within 15 minutes, I literally have to go lie down.
Yeah.
So they obviously, you guys have complementing energies.
Yeah. I feel so bad for him though, because like I was super hot, smoking back then, looking good, thin, fun girl. And then he just started popping babies in me suddenly. And now then I gained weight and became like an internet famous vlogger. And he's like, what the hell's going on? I didn't sign up for any of this. What do you mean? So I'm like putting myself out there looking like a trash bag and pissing off husbands all over the world with my truth. And he's like, whoa, what do you mean the Today Show wants you on? Like, what's going on? So he ended up selling his company to stay home and help with the kids so that I could pursue this goal of mine. And it's just been like crazy the way that things have escalated and where our life has gotten us. I mean, literally 6 years ago, we were both living in halfway houses with no jobs and no car. And now we have this beautiful family. We just purchased our first home, and I have the opportunity to meet amazing people like my supporters and like you. And it's been a journey, but it's greater than I could have ever dreamed.
He sounds pretty awesome, actually.
He can be.
Yeah.
What sounds awesome about him? I'm curious.
Well, he quit his job so that he could take care of the kids while you pursue your dream?
I mean, okay. Yes.
Okay. There's more to the story.
Well, no, that's pretty much, he was glad to do it.
Okay. Okay.
Our kids are in school.
Mm-hmm.
And so he
win-win.
Well, yeah,
it's a win-win.
So he's pretty much got it made. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, no, he's been a huge help. Before the world took a pause,
right?
Taking the kids to school, picking them up so that I could do my work and do what I needed to do. And he's been super supportive. It's been an adjustment for sure. Because he's not outgoing like I am. He's not in front of the camera like I am. And so I'm like, I had to talk with him today. I'm like, hey, if you see something funny going on, maybe you could pull out the camera and document it or whatever so that, we can share it with people. And he's like, I'm not like that. I'm not like a camera type guy. I don't know what you want from me. And I'm like, I just told you, mother effer. And he's like, I didn't marry a vlogger, so you have to work with me here, Tiffany. And I'm like, yeah, okay, touche, good point. But
this is all making sense.
Yeah.
This is all making sense. My wife's the same way.
Really?
There's no way there could be two vloggers living in the house. Okay.
Really?
There can't be two personalities living in the house. You have the person that's in the background, that's your support system, that's there to cheer you on, and is never going to get on a camera. I've done that before where I've included her in a video and she will just be like, really? Wow. I thought we've had this conversation. Don't put me on the videos. That's good to hear. Oh, yeah.
Because part of me is like, it would be so much cooler if you could be excited about this with me and help me and think about it the way I think about it. But maybe I just have to come to the realization that that's just who he is, instead of trying to mold him into the person I want him to be. And thinking about it, if there were two personalities in the house, I can't imagine what that would be like. We'd be fighting for attention. Huh. I'm going to give him a big hug when he gets back and apologize.
Yeah, you really do. You need to give him a big hug, tell him how much you love him. And also, too, it's this whole idea of it's fucking exhausting to do being this person. I hate doing videos. One of the things I applaud you is all those Facebook lives. I can't stand doing videos. My wife's always, you need to do more videos, but don't put me on them. Right?
Really?
Because videos get a lot more traction, right? And so this. But the thing is too, it's like, hey, be on the video with me. I'm trying to share the load.
Right.
Hey, it'd be cool if you took a video, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Maybe if I can train them.
Right.
Right. Then all of a sudden I've got double the content. Right. Or I
Yeah.
can cut mine in half. So there's always,
There's these cute moments that happen. And I'm like, take a picture of me and this kid because we're being adorable. Like
right.
what? I have so many amazing pictures of him with the children and doing cool stuff around the house. And there's nothing of me except this angle where it's like a selfie and it's my big fat face and then whatever cute things happening behind me. I'm like, can you just take the picture? Look at how cute we are snuggling right now. And I want him to automatically do it. But I guess, I just have to come to terms with the fact that we're two different people and our brains work two different ways. And, just be grateful that I have somebody who's so handsome that loves me and my weirdness. Because I'm a lot. I am a lot. And I'm irrational and I'm a little crazy. And he really balances it out. I feel like I am at a therapy session. I'm just having a conversation with myself. It starts off like, I can't stand him. Well, actually, you know what? He's wonderful and I love him and he's the wind beneath my wings.
It's the power of coaching.
Are you a coach?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Oh my gosh. I need to do more research, dude. I saw the email, like I read it, but it's like my brain doesn't retain info well, but that's incredible. Oh my gosh. So what is your diagnosis of me? What are you getting?
No, it's not even a diagnosis. It's more of like understanding how alike we are.
Yeah.
Like I get you because of how how energy affects our lives. So, we need to put it out there, right? We need we have this passion and we have this drive and we have this thing inside of us that has kind of been guiding us our whole lives and put us in front of stages, in front of people. And we just have this propensity to help people. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But we also need to guard our energy tremendously. Yeah. And especially when you talk about, that fear of impending doom and the anxiety, most of the time, the anxiety is fear of the future. I'm focusing on something that hasn't even happened yet, but I'm anticipating some future event based on past experiences.
Right.
So I live in this perpetual sort of anxiety, panic attack sort of hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Which is really more of a defense mechanism to protect me.
Yeah.
Okay. If I feel the way that my body communicates with me when I'm afraid is through anxiety, it prevents me from moving into a direction.
Right.
Right. And so if I'm thinking about whatever, normally I'm thinking about something and all of a sudden I get anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm future tripping.
Yeah. I got a tattoo of a bee with a gift bow to remind me to be present. And I put it right here so that I could look down and constantly be reminded, stay in the moment. And I'm amazed how many times I look down at it and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not in the moment. Like every time. And the world we live in today too, I think doesn't help. Everything's super fast paced and the news is scary and nobody knows what's real. And so, it's a weird time to be alive, but it's cool that there's people like you out there to help people and, people sharing their truth more and more every day. More people are coming out and sharing their truth and it's huge. It's so helpful.
Well, I can say the same about you. So thank you. And what's your take on what's going on right now? How's that affecting your life? Is it changing things? Is it things relatively the same? How is it affecting you, this pandemic?
I feel like I've always lived in like a state of pandemic, like my whole life. Like it's always a crisis. It's always nuts. It's always weird and changing. For me, I'm very blessed in that what I do doesn't take place in a place where I would be laid off. Like, for example, granted, there's no job security with what I do. The internet could cancel me tomorrow. But it's not like I lost my job that I've been at because it had to close down because of this virus. And there's so many people out there struggling, so many people out there losing their minds, wondering how they're going to make it. And if anything, I've spent most of my time being sad for those people and trying to figure out what I can do to make a difference in whatever way I can. But I feel like I have no room to complain. I've been incredibly blessed in that I can still make videos from my house.
If people listen to the podcast, starting from when I started interviewing people about the pandemic, and I typically interview people that are in recovery, recovered from addiction, I get that response. Dude, I lived a pandemic.
Really?
Right. Yeah. Which is like, I feel like, I've been preparing for this my whole life.
Yeah. Interesting.
And there's this sense of gratitude for where you're at and mentally being able to process what's happening the way that we are because of our past experiences, and this overwhelming sadness for people that are going through this thing and have never gone through something so difficult, especially the isolation part.
Yeah.
So, it's really nice because the conversations I typically have kind of circle back to, man, I got a sense of gratitude.
Gratitude, in my opinion, is the key to happiness in life. And I know it seems obvious, but truly, I feel like gratitude is the answer for almost anything, really. And I know that people are like, well, how could I be grateful? I lost my job, we're losing our house. And I don't have an answer for that, to be honest with you. And I won't even try. But for me, on a personal level, like when I start to get sad or start to get caught up, I think like, you should be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
You have air in your lungs. Like you are able to have this house and this family that loves you, and so gratitude has always pulled me out of any pity party or thing that I've done. And, there's so many people out there in devastating situations, and I don't pretend to have an answer. But I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to help people. And I don't want to go into like detail about all the things that I'm doing because that's not why I'm doing it. But, so many people are rallying to try to help those who are struggling. And it's a beautiful thing to see, even if it's just by making videos in their homes, making videos to cheer people up. Mm-hmm. It's cool how everybody's kind of coming together in neighborhoods and stuff like that. I like that, but I'm ready for it to be done.
Yeah. But really we've desperately needed an opportunity to slow down.
I agree.
And there's people that have lost their jobs that fucking hated those jobs. Like, oh my God, I can't wait to go back to normal. You hated your job. You want to go back to that?
Right.
Like sometimes,
but it's hard to see that when you're in the midst of it and when the bills are coming in and when you're constantly in a state of stress because you don't know the answer or the outcome. When you're right in it, it's hard to see that. But I get it.
That's really, and having this conversation allows people an opportunity to go, okay, all right, that kind of like, I'm terrified, but what I'm terrified is this uncertainty.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to go back to normal. I'm saying I want to go back to normal because I'm so afraid of the unknown and the uncertainty. Right. Even if the uncertainty or the future is there's something better for me out there. And I just don't know it because I'm holding on to this.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of change personally at all. And I'm a creature of habit. So we've all been kind of shaken up and we have no clue, what's going on or when it's going to go on and what's real and what's not real. And if you're listening to this and you're struggling, I'm sending you love and I'm really sorry. And it's a weird time in the world and your feelings are valid. Whatever you're going through, it's valid. Just please keep going. Don't give up. That's the biggest thing is don't give up. And I can't imagine. It's so hard to not want to give up when it feels like too heavy to try to live with the uncertainty. But there's a lot of people and a lot of communities online as well. There's a lot of hotlines that you can call. There's a lot of online support meetings for everything, really. I was looking it up.
It's
drugs,
more than
alcohol.
Ever.
Yeah.
Anything. Codependency.
Yeah. Yep.
There's just go to Google because Google is the magic carpet ride for all things Zoom. And there is now everything
Yeah.
on Zoom.
Yeah.
And so guess what? If you just try to let go a little bit, if you just allow and have a little faith that what's happening right now is actually providing you an opportunity to get closer to what you want.
Mm.
Because before, most people are like, I'm not doing that Zoom thing and those online meetings, that's not my thing. And it's got to be the person to person. It doesn't really count if it's an online meeting. Like, I remember hearing that stuff because I've
Yeah.
had an online community for over 2 years now. Back before online communities were like, yeah, whatever, that's too Zoom. What?
Right.
And so now it's everywhere. It's plastered everywhere, and people are forced to do it. And if you embrace it, you are going to get the exact same benefits because you are going to be able to connect, and you're forced to.
Right.
So once you do, guess what happens? Your new normal starts being your new normal.
Right.
And so there's a lot of opportunities right now if you just kind of allow. And anyone who's stuck, give yourself that opportunity. That there's so much, there's more opportunities to connect at this moment in time than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
I could be at a meeting in LA. Probably if I Google AANASLAA whatever in Los Angeles, I guarantee you within 5 minutes I'm on a Zoom call.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's available. It's available. So, Tiffany, really, we're already an hour in here, but I don't even know about how you got started with Juggling the Jenkins. So tell our audience how you went from living in a halfway house, getting knocked up, getting pregnant, having kids, and then, look at this thing.
Yeah. It goes back to that time when I was comparing myself to everybody on social media and everybody looked fake.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not necessarily faked, but what I thought was normal was nowhere near what my house looked like, was nowhere near what my hair looked like and my outfit looked like. And so I was like, I'm going to start talking about, the things I'm struggling with just for my friends, so that people could see they're not alone. I've always been a ham. I've always loved the camera. And so I made a post about postpartum depression, and then I started talking about addiction. And the more nervous I was to share something, the more people were thankful and like messaging me, friends from high school who were like, I've been struggling with this for so long, and I had no idea that you did too. Thank you for sharing that. It made me feel not alone. And that really inspired me to like dig deeper and start talking about more uncomfortable stuff. And then I started making videos in addition to the writing. And it gave me a chance to use that goofy humor that I've always had to bring awareness to subjects that people aren't talking about. And it literally blew up, it feels like overnight. And I wasn't expecting it, but I was, I'm so grateful for it. I'm so happy and so stoked. But yeah, I didn't know what to do. Suddenly, like, production companies were reaching out to me. People are constantly offering, me television shows, a reality show about your family. We want you to be a guest on this, a guest on that. And I'm like, I didn't put pants on today. Like, I don't know how to answer these questions. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't have a team. And so I'm just trying to keep it as normal as possible and not have a team and not get caught up in the Hollywood of it all, and just remember why I started. And that was to let people know that they're not alone. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to like pull a Kanye and like get a mansion and, a jet one day. You never know.
Nope. You never know.
But as of now, I'm just enjoying this amazing gift that I've been given to do what I love while helping people. There's nothing like that feeling.
No. So, but I am curious because there's no reason why you wouldn't have a team. There's no reason why you couldn't take this to the next level. What's preventing you from really kind of embracing what you've created and going next level?
Probably finances, A. I spent my whole life like putting $2 worth of gas in my car. Like, and still, you know what I mean? Like, I still don't fill it because it feels like I'm spending too much money at one time. Um, so I don't know who to trust. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's not. I don't know what I need versus what people are telling me I need. And I feel like if it's meant to be, it'll be. Maybe I feel like everything's been coming to me like gifts, you know, in my email, like, hey, we really love you and would love to do a tour with you. We would love to offer you a book deal. You know, I think that if I start trying to get this whole team around me to make me famous or give me opportunities or whatever it is, that it's going to become more so about me getting big and getting my name out there and getting famous than it is, you know, it happening naturally, I guess, maybe. I don't
Maybe.
know. I don't know what I need. I don't know who to trust. I don't know
Yeah.
enough about this to know what to do.
In all fairness, you know, because you asked me, oh, you know, you're coaching me, right?
Mhm.
And what do you see? And you said it perfectly and eloquently. I don't know who to trust. Like, it's not about growing or not growing. It's about, do I trust myself and do I trust anybody else? Because there's two very important facets to this whole equation. If I grow, one
Right.
is, can I trust somebody? And then once I trust somebody and a team gets formed, can I trust that team? And then can I trust myself to stay true to my
Mhm.
message?
Yeah, 100%. For sure.
So it's really just what it's boiled down to is trust.
Yeah. And I think lack of knowledge also a little bit. Um, I started off just writing in my living room, you know, and now I don't know. Do I need a manager? Do I need an agent? Do I need a publicist? Do I need a PR person? Do I need a bodyguard? I don't know. I don't know what I need. And I don't know how to find out either. There's not like a club you can join and like of people who have suddenly gotten this internet, whatever this is, with the right answers. Nobody wants to give you answers. They don't want you to succeed. They don't want to tell you their secrets. So, you know, luckily I've made a few real friends and they've shared their tips with me, but I don't know. My ultimate goal is to be an actress. I would love to be the designated weird large friend next door in sitcoms. Um, but we'll see.
Love it. Love it. I can't wait to see what happens.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what happens because it's super exciting, and it's so nice to do interviews where you get to go on the inside.
Yeah. This was a cool interview, actually. It felt very like organic. And I like talked about stuff that I usually don't. And I don't know why or why it came out, but maybe it just, I think it's all about like, it didn't feel like an interview. It just felt like a conversation.
I didn't use any of my questions.
I'm sorry.
We started deviating, and next thing you know, I couldn't even find my footing. I completely lost control.
Same. Same. That's
And
so
I
funny.
I think there's sometimes you need an opportunity to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And there's the spotlight, and then there's what happens behind the spotlight, and there's the truth, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on in my house? What's my relationship look like? What's real? Because
Yeah.
when the camera goes on, I have to put on, you know, the Juggling the Jenkins.
It just broke all of my equipment.
Right, I got to put that on. I have to you know, it is, and I have those conversations all the time with my assistant, with people that I coach, with people that I trust enough to go, dude, I need to do something different. I've reached a certain point where I can't do this alone anymore.
Right.
And so it is finding the right people that you can trust and finding the right people that are going to give you the best. It's more than just advice. I need to feel like I'm being supported in this.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds nice.
And I think that's what's super important. So if people, most people are going to recognize this, but those that don't, what is the best way for them to check you out? How can they find you?
I live in Sarasota. You can find me at the Taco Bell. If you go there, I'll probably be there. That's how you can find me. I'm just getting stupid. Facebook is my main platform. That's where I hang out most. That's my home. But I also have like others. Just Google Juggling the Jenkins. I'll pop up probably. That's not a professional answer. I'm sorry.
You have a website?
Yeah, Juggling the Jenkins.
Okay, perfect.
.com.
I'm pretty sure it's got everything on there.
Yeah, that's a good landing spot. Good idea. Yeah, jugglingthejenkins.com. Beautiful. I wrote a book about, and you can find it there. No, that's it. That's the only thing I wrote. I wrote a book, and just Google it. Google's a magic carpet ride into my life. Isn't that
It is. Okay, can you handle a couple of my? Now I'm going to go back to the script. Can I ask you a few of my questions?
Yeah.
Closing questions. Okay, good. So I'm curious, what is or what was your biggest limiting belief?
My biggest,
limiting belief. Mm-hmm.
That people were gonna think I was stupid once they saw the real me. And then I stepped outside of my comfort zone and did it anyway, and it was the biggest gift that I've ever given myself.
What'd you discover?
I discovered that there are people who are just like me, who are desperate for people who are just like them. And that for the first time in my life, without the use of drugs or alcohol, I'm okay with who I am.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm curious as to a burning boat moment in your life, a time in your life where I'm explaining.
Okay.
A time in your life where you recognize something that you were no longer going to tolerate something in your life. Not one more day, not one more hour, not one more minute. I'm not going to tolerate this in my life anymore.
I don't know that I've ever had anything like other than drugs, you mean?
There's as I kind of paint that, it could be anything, right?
I still tolerate way too much crap. And I don't know that I'm ever finally like, I will not tolerate this anymore, because chances are I probably will, because I'm a people pleaser. But it always circles back to the people pleasing, huh? Yeah.
So we know where the core issue is.
I can't even think of a time when I've ever been like, that is it. No more. Because it's like, well, maybe a little more, because I'm a glutton for punishment. Unless it comes to drugs or alcohol, then it was like, okay, no more. Obviously, I can't do this anymore. And so that was final. But as far as anything else, I don't know. I'm not good at commitment. Mm-hmm.
I'd say you're pretty good at commitment so far.
Really?
Yeah, 6 years married. I mean, not too many people make a 6-year married. That's a
thanks.
Yeah, you should be proud of yourself.
Really. Yeah. Diets, though, fixing my sleep schedule, exercising, being more organized, 1 day a week at least. I'm like, okay, this is it. This is the day I change everything and I get it together. And then by that night, I'm like, well, I'll just eat 4 Rice Krispie treats. And then tomorrow I'll start again. And I can't, it's not easy to follow through. But yeah, I don't know that I've ever had a time like that, other than when I recognized my life was out of control with drugs and alcohol.
What is the best suggestion or advice you have ever received?
I've received so much good advice. It's so hard to pick just one. My mom used to tell me all the time, stop meeting your problems halfway, wait for them to come all the way to you. And that really helped me. Which doesn't sound like it makes any sense because I love jumping out and meeting my problems all the way where they don't even exist. So that was a bad example. My dad used to
That's
tell me
a great example. I loved it.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm sitting here going, man, that's great advice.
Yeah. But then if you think about the way I live my life, I'm like, is that a problem over there I see? Let me go grab it. Like, it's not even close. I have binoculars. But my dad used to tell me all the time, look at your feet. And I used to hate it, but now it makes sense. Like, because, like we were talking about, stressing about the future, obsessing about the past, like all we have is wherever our feet are at that moment. That's it. And so I just constantly, I'm telling myself and telling other people, just look at your feet, man. In this moment, everything is okay. In this moment. And we could take 2 steps forward and get hit by an asteroid. You know what I mean? But as for right now, where your feet are, you're good. And that's helped me a lot.
Beautiful.
Rest in
Okay.
peace to my parents.
Yeah, right? Are they gone?
Yeah. I got rid of them. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you. Yeah, cancer, man. If cancer had a face, I would punch it.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, let's not end on that note.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no.
I always make it dark.
Yeah, one more question. One more question. What is one final piece? What's one parting piece of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
In the words of my homie, Dr. Seuss, be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind.
You got that one memorized beautifully.
I had it on my business card.
Be
Be who you are. The right people will find you. The wrong people will fall off, and that's okay. Life is way too short to try to fit everybody into your beautiful little box. That sounds inappropriate, but you know what I mean. I should have just ended it on my quote.
No, that is, I was like, brilliant, and a snort. It's like, it doesn't get any better than this. Tiffany, thank you so much for bringing it.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. I had a great time.
This is amazing. Amazing. Oh my God.
Hey.
All right, folks, we have now reached the end of our show. Thanks for joining us. And as we say here in Costa Rica, pura vida. Can you say pura vida?
You're in Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Oh,
years.
F you, dude. Pura vida.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the SHAIR Podcast. And be sure to click subscribe to the SHAIR Podcast YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on all the major social media platforms. Go to our website, the SHAIR Podcast. Go to my website, omarpinto.com. Find out about joining the SRC, the SHAIR Recovery Community, or one-on-one coaching with me by setting up a free consultation. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the following SHAIR Podcast episode.